Now, at one point, R. Kelly was one of the biggest artists in the world. He sold more than 75 million records worldwide, won 3 Grammys, and performed for audiences across the globe. He also created songs like I Believe I Can Fly that became a major part of popular culture. While his career continued to grow, serious allegations involving young women and underage girls followed him for decades. Some of those accusations reached court long before he ever went to federal prison. In 2008, R. Kelly stood trial in Chicago over a recording that prosecutors said showed him engaging in sexual activity with an underage girl. Kelly denied that he was the man in the recording, and after the alleged victim did not testify, the jury acquitted him on every count. But years later, Ed Jensen, one of the lawyers who helped defend him in that case, publicly said that he personally believed Kelly was guilty. For a long time, it appeared that even the darkest allegations surrounding R. Kelly would never completely destroy his career. But that changed in 2019. That year, R. Kelly was arrested on state charges in Chicago. Several months later, he was taken into federal custody after prosecutors brought separate cases against him in New York and Chicago. During that period, he also gave a now infamous interview with Gayle King. R. Kelly stood out of his chair, cried, and shouted while insisting that the accusations against him were lies.
I didn't do this stuff. This is not me. I'm fighting for my life. Y'all killing me with this.
But despite those public denials, R. Kelly was eventually convicted in both federal cases. In New York, he received a 30-year prison sentence. In Chicago, he was sentenced to another 20 years, but all except 1 year run at the same time as the New York sentence. That means he is effectively serving 31 years in federal prison. His appeals have failed, and under his current projected release date, he's not leaving prison until his late 70s. But R. Kelly is now actually trying to get out of prison. After failing to overturn his convictions through the courts, his legal team has now turned to President Donald Trump. So like most of us know, Trump has used his clemency power in several high-profile cases, including pardoning people like Lil Wayne, Kodak Black, and now R. Kelly's lawyers are hoping that Trump will do something similar for R. Kelly. R. Kelly's attorney, Beau Brindle, has formally asked Trump to commute his sentence. Basically, they're asking the president to reduce the amount of time Kelly must spend in prison. Now, that wouldn't erase his convictions or declare him innocent, but it would allow him to walk free much earlier than expected. His lawyer argues that R. Kelly was treated unfairly by the justice system. His legal team has also now raised serious claims about his safety in prison. All the prosecutors have strongly disputed those allegations. But to understand how R. Kelly ended up in this position, you have to go back much further than his federal arrest in 2019. The troubling accusations surrounding him stretched back for decades, and one of the earliest major warning signs involved a teenager at the time by the name of Aaliyah. Aaliyah, not Aaliyah, Aaliyah was one of the most promising young singers in R&B. She would later become known for her smooth sound, unique style, and major influence on the artists who came up after her. But when she began recording her first album with R. Kelly, she was still only a 14-year-old girl trying to launch her career. R. Kelly became her mentor and wrote and produced her 1994 debut album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. By the time the album was released, Aaliyah was 15 and R. Kelly was 27. That same year, rumors began spreading that the two were more than musical collaborators and that they had secretly gotten married. At first, it was treated almost like celebrity gossip because neither R. Kelly nor Aaliyah publicly confirmed it. Both of them denied that they were ever married. But a marriage certificate later surfaced showing that they had married in Illinois on August 31st, 1994. The document listed Aaliyah as 18 even though she was actually only 15. The marriage was legally canceled in February 1995. Aaliyah then separated herself professionally from R. Kelly and never worked with him again. She moved forward with her career, eventually building a new sound alongside producers like Timbaland and Missy Elliott. She moved forward with her career, eventually building a new sound alongside people like Timbaland and Missy Elliott. Now, during R. Kelly's federal trial, his former tour manager testified that he paid a government employee $500 to obtain a false identification for Aaliyah. The fake ID listed her as 18 years old and allowed the marriage paperwork to go through, even though she was actually only 15. A Cook County clerk also testified that identification had been used to obtain the marriage license. So this was not simply a rumor that people exaggerated years later. R. Kelly and Aaliyah were really married. Her age was falsely listed on the paperwork, and evidence about how the false identification was obtained eventually became part of the federal case against them. At the time, R. Kelly did not face criminal charges over the marriage itself, but more than 25 years later, the false ID and the secret marriage became evidence in the broader federal racketeering case that ultimately helped send him to prison. Over the next several years, multiple women filed lawsuits against R. Kelly, accusing him of sexual misconduct. Some of those allegations involved girls who said they had been underage at the time, and several of the cases were reportedly settled outside of court. R. Kelly continued denying that he had done anything wrong. Then in 2002, the situation became much more serious. A recording began circulating that prosecutors said showed R. Kelly engaging in sexual activity with an underage girl. R. Kelly denied that he was the man in the video. He was originally charged with 21 counts connected to child sexual abuse material, although 14 counts remained when the case went to trial. The case took 6 years to reach trial. When the trial finally began in 2008, prosecutors brought in witnesses who said they recognized both R. Kelly and the girl in the recording, but the girl prosecutors believed was shown did not testify, and several members of her family told the jury that she was not the person in the video. That created enough doubt for the defense. After less than a day of deliberations, the jury found R. Kelly not guilty on every count. The acquittal became one of the most important moments in his story. To many of his supporters, the verdict seemed to confirm that the accusations against him could not be trusted. For R. Kelly, it meant he avoided prison and was able to continue his career, but legally, the verdict only meant prosecutors had failed to prove that specific case beyond a reasonable doubt. Years later, Ed Jensen, the lawyer who helped lead R. Kelly's defense, made a shocking statement. He told the Chicago Sun-Times that he personally believed Kelly was guilty as hell. He made that comment more than a decade after the trial. It did not change the acquittal, but it was still remarkable coming from one of the lawyers who helped him win the case. Even after that, R. Kelly continued denying the accusations, and for years, his career kept moving. He continued releasing music, performing shows, and maintaining a loyal fanbase. At the same time, more women and families were publicly accusing him of controlling, isolating, and abusing young women. Then in January 2019, the documentary series Surviving R. Kelly brought many of those stories together and placed the allegations in front of a much larger audience. The series featured women who accused Kelly of abuse, along with relatives and former members of his inner circle. The reaction was immediate, and pressure grew for authorities to take another look at him. Within weeks, prosecutors in Chicago charged R. Kelly with aggravated criminal sexual abuse involving 4 alleged victims. Prosecutors said 3 of them had been underage when the alleged conduct occurred. R. Kelly pleaded not guilty and continued insisting that the accusations were false. In July 2019, R. Kelly was arrested again, this time on federal charges in both Chicago and New York. And this is where R. Kelly's legal situation became much more serious. This time, the case was not built around one recording or one accusation. It told a much bigger story. For years, R. Kelly had people around him helping arrange meetings with women and underage girls, control parts of their lives, and keep what was happening out the public view. That inner circle became a major part of the case. The claim was that R. Kelly was not acting alone, but using the people around him to help carry out and cover up a pattern of abuse. This is why he was charged with racketeering, a law more commonly associated with organized crime. During the trial, several women testified about what they said happened to them. The Aaliyah marriage also came back into the picture, including evidence that false identification had been obtained so she could be listed as 18. By then, the case was no longer about one moment from R. Kelly's past. It was about a pattern that was said to have continued for years. In September 2021, the jury found R. Kelly guilty on all 9 counts in the New York case. The following year, he was sentenced to 30 years in federal prison, but that was still not the end of his legal problems. Kelly then faced a separate federal trial in Chicago. That case focused partially on recordings involving an underage girl along with accusations involving other minors. The jury found him guilty on 6 counts, although he was also cleared of several other charges. He received another 20-year sentence, but 19 of those years ran at the same time as his New York sentence. So instead of adding another 20 years, the Chicago case only added 1 extra year, leaving him with what is effectively a 31-year sentence. By that point, R. Kelly had gone from walking free after the 2008 trial to being convicted in 2 federal cases. His lawyers appealed the convictions, but those efforts did not change the outcome. Then in 2025, his legal team made an even more dramatic attempt to get him out. By then, R. Kelly was facing decades in prison, and his lawyers were running out of ways to change that. They appealed both federal convictions, but neither effort got him any closer to being released. Then in 2025, his legal team made a much more dramatic claim. They alleged that federal prison officials had recruited a terminally ill inmate connected to the Aryan Brotherhood, a white supremacist prison gang, to kill R. Kelly. And according to his attorneys, the inmate claimed he had been transferred to R. Kelly's prison to carry out the attack, but they say he eventually changed his mind and warned R. Kelly instead. His lawyers also claimed that R. Kelly was placed in solitary confinement and later hospitalized after being given too much medication. The government strongly denied the accusations and described the alleged murder plot as a baseless conspiracy. None of those claims have been proven in court, and a judge refused R. Kelly's request to be released to home confinement. So by that point, he had been convicted, failed to overturn the cases, and failed to convince a judge to let him leave prison. That left him with very few options. And that is when his legal team turned directly to Donald Trump. Now R. Kelly is officially asking Trump to step in. His attorney, Bew Brinley, has submitted a request asking the president to commute R. Kelly's sentence. In simple terms, they want Trump to cut down his prison time and allow him to get out much earlier than expected. What is the likelihood that's going to happen, though? And his legal team pointed to the alleged murder plot, his health problems, and what they describe as dangerous treatment inside prison as reasons for Trump to help him. And Trump does have a lot of power, so I guess he could do something, but again, what's the likelihood that's going to happen? So for now, R. Kelly is going to remain behind bars. His convictions are still in place, and he's still going to be in prison. For a very long time, it seemed like R. Kelly could survive almost anything, until surviving R. Kelly helped bring everything into the spotlight. He was one of the biggest artists in music at one point, performed around the world, and had enough success and influence to keep his career moving, even while disturbing allegations continued to follow him. Musically speaking, there's no denying that R. Kelly was and probably still is extremely talented, but talent and character are two completely different things, right? Like a lot of very powerful and successful people, he probably never imagined that he would end up spending this stage of his life behind bars. I mean, think about how much success he had, and then think about where he currently is right now, especially after walking free in 2008, continuing to sell records and watching his career still climb, and then surviving allegation after allegation. I'm sure he probably started to think that none of that stuff would ever catch up to him, but it eventually did. So yeah, R. Kelly's trying to get out of prison, but I don't believe he can fly out of this one. If you made it this far, drop a like on this video and subscribe if you're new here. My name is Blackie Speaks. Nice to meet you. What do you guys think about this R. Kelly story? Y'all let me know in the comment section below. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace. I'm out.